Hey, thanks for coming back to the channel. This is just a quick video, a follow-up to a social media post I made the other day, and a few people requested that I talk about it a little bit more. So here it is. I'm working on a whole bunch of different videos today, and I'll have the video, my first look video of the Les Chappelle 932S Mark II microphone pre that we're using right now. That'll be out in the next couple of days very soon, so keep an eye out for that. Really, really neat mic pre. So what I want to talk about today is what you see here, and that is this double Lectern mic. And this is more about the concept or the theory than it is about these particular microphones, although these two are very nice and microphones that I enjoy working with quite a bit. But this could be your standard Shure Lectern mic that you see all over the place, and this could be any sort of shotgun. I personally own a couple of Audio-Technica small mini shotguns, but this is a Sennheiser ME36. And this is, like I said, a Countryman A3, the 18-inch model. But again, those could be anything. This is more about the concept or the theory. So usually you're going to come across a lot of these types of microphones, these like 18-inch, the 12-inch or so. They make them in a ton of different lengths, but the 18-inch length is very popular. I see them a ton around town, in boardrooms, in meeting spaces, on lecterns provided by clients. Specifically, the Shure models of these just seem to be everywhere. And these type of microphones are always going to be your first line of defense on a lectern. In a room that's difficult, that's tricky, with reflective surfaces, getting that element close to the speaker's mouth in situations where you can't put a lav or a headset mic on somebody. This is the next best option you're going to have in a live environment when there's a lectern, multiple people presenting or coming up to talk at a press conference, something like that. But the issue you run into here, while you gain all the benefits from having that microphone close to the source and gain before feedback, what you're going to run into is eventually you're going to have people starting to pop the peas, and you'll get people that lean in and eat the microphone and make it completely unusable, and you'll get people that just whatever they do, you know, they'll adjust the microphone down like this, so you're popping all the peas everywhere and just blowing up bigger sound systems. If this is you know, something like a line array system in a big venue where, you know, even without subwoofers, you've got just a ton of low energy potential in your system for various reasons, or maybe you're putting this through, you know, broadcast mix and you're just slamming the heck out of a compressor trying to get this under control, or it's just hitting into limiters just on those plosives. So that can be a huge challenge, especially in broadcast or in larger events where you have those just huge transients that are so far out of alignment with the rest of the program material. You know, a lot of times this can happen when somebody's talking very quietly, but their P's are just... So yeah, one way to deal with that is with, you know, electronics, with, you know, processing, and with modern digital consoles, things like multi-band compressors and dynamic EQs can make a huge difference, like night and day difference between standard compressors and standard tools that you have. But even those can't really help you if somebody's blowing up the capsule, if somebody's in here just eating it. So what can be helpful in those situations is to have a secondary microphone that's not affected by any of that stuff, just tucked away underneath your primary microphone. So I'll start most sessions if a new presenter comes up to the lectern. I will start them off more often than not, if I haven't heard them speak before, on the longer 18-inch microphone, get that microphone closest to the source and get all the benefits from that. But if they're eating that, or if they're, you know, moving it a lot, or maybe they've moved it out of position on you, or maybe they're leaning out over it, that happens a lot. What can be really helpful is to just go ahead and use that lower microphone. Folks that love to adjust the microphone or hold on to the microphone or give you just generally any weird problems that people tend to give you when they're talking at a lectern, you know, a lot of people's insecurities, a lot of people's, you know, nervousness and hesitation to be presenting in front of a large audience can be manifested through microphone adjustments. We've all worked with musicians who are just constantly, you know, adjusting the boom and the mic stand. You know, no big deal. Who cares about that? But when you're dealing with a single microphone that's your entire show, the difference between a microphone placed correctly and one that's, you know, maybe off axis over here, you know, in a controlled environment, again, not a huge issue. But when you're dealing with a live microphone that's maybe right on the edge of control in a live setting, setting with a lot of reflective surfaces, the difference between a microphone that's working for you and one that's maybe, just off axis or gets adjusted incorrectly, or that somebody's just crushing, can be dramatic. It can be really, really dramatic in a live setting. So sometimes if you have a presenter that gets up and immediately gets up on the microphone, you know you're going to have those plosive issues before they even start. You can just switch out to your other microphone. And, from a speaker's perspective, this doesn't feel any different. I'm monitoring here through an in-ear monitor, so I can kind of feel the proximity and everything as a presenter. If I was in the room hearing myself through a large sound system, getting some, response back from the room as to how my voice feels, this doesn't feel unnatural. I still feel like I am present in the sound system. I'm coming through, but I can eat the mic. I can do whatever I want and stay fairly consistent, because this ME36 does such a good job at kind of normalizing that. Now I'll turn the Countryman back on here just so we can have both, and I'll switch back and forth. But depending on, what kind of presenter you have, this shotgun can just be a much more controlled way to give them, whatever they want. If somebody just really wants to just, be crazy and talk off the lectern, this can be a really elegant solution, and they don't even have to know about it. I've yet to have anybody make mention of it or feel uncomfortable by it or weirded out or notice in any way that I can tell that they weren't indeed talking into this microphone, even as they continue to make their speech and make adjustments and feel good about those adjustments and have that, satisfy whatever nervous tick they might be having at the moment. So this can just be a really interesting way of getting the most out of spoken word presentation. And here in DC and Washington DC, it's probably the most common event a lot of us do is lectern type events, and there's very few other events where a single input can get so much attention. And if you've got somebody really important up at a lectern, you've got somebody, maybe a world leader or a CEO of a business or somebody that's, a lot of people are paying attention to the words they're saying, you definitely don't want to lose the audio for bad mic technique, and you definitely won't have the ability in many of those situations to get anywhere near that person as far as applying a lavalier microphone. I'm wearing a lav right now as a backup in this situation, but the amount of times that we just don't have that opportunity here when dealing with press conferences and things that are happening in the moment and large-scale events. You've got to be able to guarantee that your lectern is going to be of the absolute best quality. This kind of a signal chain premium mic pre's might be a little bit of overkill, but it wouldn't be the first time. There's definitely been lectern jobs I've worked here where this kind of a signal chain is exactly what's in use. And it can absolutely be that important to capture every word of what certain people are saying in detail and be able to be confident that you've got it without any distortion, any popped P's, or any reason for anybody to criticize or be confused about the quality of the audio you're capturing. So that's it for this video. Something to give a try. Let me know down in the comments below what you think, if you've tried anything like this before, if you've had any luck with it, and what you're doing out there to combat plosives. A lot of, we've talked before, in earlier videos I talked about windscreens. The Crown windscreen they used to sell, unfortunately it's discontinued now, had a double pop filter. And it's an issue that when you get talking to other folks that deal with lecterns regularly, windscreens and different types of microphones, different element arrays, all this stuff, it's an ongoing battle, an ongoing struggle to find the perfect setup where you get the most gain before feedback, the best tone, and then also, eliminating those popped P's and off-axis weirdness and things like that. There's a ton of different ways to go about it. This is just one of them, and I find that it works in situations where you are intending to use an 18-inch gooseneck. Adding a shotgun underneath is something that can be really helpful. I'm not suggesting that this is the best method to use on a lectern, but if you are doing an 18-inch gooseneck and you can get away with hiding this, it's a very discreet, if you really take the time to line these up just right with a dead-on, straight-on camera shot, it's super discreet. Nobody's going to notice it, and can be, obviously custom fit depending on the length of the goosenecks you use on each one of these to make either a longer or closer relationship between these two. I've done this before with two of these length shotguns, just with the rear on a riser. And that works as well. So you can experiment, play around, but this combination works really well. The Countryman A3 Sennheiser ME36. And this mount and these cables were put together by my friend and coworker Jake Cook, who did a really nice job of making these with a thinner XLR cable coming into a plug-on mount that screws into the base here. And those are really handy for mounting something like this really nice and clean, and I can get parts and parts list from him on that. If anybody's interested, just go ahead and leave me a comment and I'll let you know what's involved in putting those together. That's all for this time. Thanks again for watching. Jump down in the comments below and let us know what you're doing, if you've tried something like this before and how it worked out, or what else you're doing to stop the plosives on your Lectern mics. That's all for now. I'll see you next time.